Now, these numbers are as of September 2019. That's not including today's numbers from the cigarette butts I picked up of 153 cigarette butts off of Ocean Boulevard this morning and 2 cigar tips this morning. And I didn't do all of Ocean Boulevard. I always start at the Sea Turtle, and I got past the flags and past the Front Beach area as far as I got. So my numbers, not including today's numbers, is only 21,589 cigarette butts in cigar tips. And I'll say 99.9% of this number are cigarette butts. I think we have a problem. Now, my thinking is if I can keep the cigarette butts off of Ocean Boulevard, they're gonna keep them out of the water system, because a heavy rain, they're gonna wash back into the drains, go somewhere, whether the drains go that way or that way, it's gonna end up in the water system and affect sea life. Now, I do take part in the weekly and monthly beach sweeps that we affiliate ourselves with the South Carolina Aquarium for the Litter-Free Journal. And this summer we did 9 sweeps according to my records, and I could be mistaken. We have a total of off the beach, and that's not part of this number at all. This is a separate number of 4424 of cigarette butts and cigar tips, and I'll say mostly cigarette butts off the beach. So with that being said, presenting these numbers, and I do keep pretty accurate records of stuff. So when I do the sweep every day, I do have a fresh sheet. I'm meticulous in my count. I know when I first started it, it was kind of an awkward thing to do, but working with Linda from the volunteer from the aquarium, it's second nature, where I can go and pick up 15, 20 things. My memory is such that I can memorize it, get to my sheet, and write it down. So I just want to present the numbers to you. And where you folks take this, it's up to you, but having this information, it's right there, all that. Any questions at all?
Nope, much appreciated.
Much appreciated. Everything's
Okay.
good. Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
All that, keeping those kids lists separate at Christmas is
Yes.
really hard.
Well, the one thing too is bad boys and girls up north get a piece of coal in their stocking. And down here, I can't find any coal. So it's gonna be a pine cone on a stick in your stocking. And the size of the pine cone will be determined on how bad
you are.
one is.
Yeah.
So, okay, but thank you so much. You all have a good day.
You too.
We'll
Thank
see
you
now.
so much.
It's a great segue
Yeah.
into my testimony. Kelly Thorwaldson, South Carolina Aquarium. Thank you for allowing this public comment. I'm so glad that Howard put together the numbers, because I didn't have time to, and the numbers are powerful. The aquarium has a litter-free digital journal. It's a litter tracker, and we've partnered with the Olive Palms cleanup crew to help understand what that litter is, and it's been really incredibly beneficial to just that understanding. So it's been long understood that cigarette smoking is harmful to humans. But it's just recently, in the recent years, being better understood, the harms of cigarette and smoking to marine life. Research is helping us understand that. So in addition to it being harmful, there's just a blatant disregard by many smokers of how to dispose of their cigarettes. And although there are educational campaigns in cities across the U.S. and across the globe, there's still an incredibly problematic issue with cigarette litter. People just don't care enough to not go out of their way to put it in the right place. So having said that, I consider there to be sort of 3 main areas that as it relates to cigarettes. First of all, they're toxic. There are hundreds of toxins in cigarettes, and when they go into the marine environment, or any environment really, they leach these toxins out. There's recent research that shows even small quantities of cigarette butts in the ocean can be fatal to fish. So this is really problematic when millions and millions of cigarettes are going into the ocean every year. And our creeks and waterways where we fish, I mean, storm drains lead to creeks and waterways and ultimately into the ocean, and this is where cigarette butts are going. It's really problematic. But secondly, one of the biggest myths about cigarettes is they break down, they're biodegradable, but they're not. They're made of plastic, and these toxins that only leach out and break down into smaller and smaller pieces. So they never ultimately go away. And then finally, cigarette butts are the most common type of litter, and our kids on the beaches, even right here on the Isle of Palms, and our kids are building sandcastles in an ashtray, essentially. The numbers are a little less this summer with the Isle of Palms cleanup crew, because I don't think we had the same amount of people out there picking up litter, probably about half the numbers. Last year, there were almost 10,000 cigarette butts in 9 30, 45-minute sweeps. 9 sweeps in a 4-block chunk of space. These are new cigarette butts being littered every single week, being picked up by this crew. Many of them are your residents. And this is problematic when 800 cigarette butts over 4 blocks are being picked up every single week. It's a problem, and I personally don't want my children playing in an ashtray. I think it would be a real leadership move for the Isle of Palms to take on a smoking ban. I think the folks that call this place home and appreciate healthy beaches would appreciate it, and I encourage you to consider this smoking ban on the beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Come on forward.
Hello again.
Hello.
I'm Susan Page. I live at 5 Forest Trail Court 1 on the island. Here to speak about the proposed ordinance changes to Title 6, Chapter 1, Article B and C. I might not have quoted it all correctly, but I just want to thank you again for trying to do something about the issue of nuisance properties and dilapidated properties on the island. I'm curious to know, and I don't know if you can answer this now, but maybe when we get to this topic later, I wasn't at the meeting where you would have decided it was ready to go to the first reading to the city council. And I understand that a lot of people in the community, when they had the chance to read the proposed changes, got upset about some of the intentions and some of the rules that were going to be put into place. And I wanted to know your thoughts on, did you really think it was okay and it was going to go the way it was worded? Were you not sure about that? I've gone over it closely myself, and I see spots that, try to read it with the neutral eye. If I was just a resident that felt like I was doing the best I could to take care of my house, how would it strike me? All these people that felt like we were trying to turn the island into an HOA. And, to me, specifically in section 6.1.14, 9 through 21, there are probably some things in there that sound invasive, that the city would have the right to come in and point fingers at specific things in their homes and properties that needed to be changed. And then also in section 6.1.32, letter G, that to me is probably the one that got the most reactions, because that's where you're talking about possible leaking around windows and peeling paint and oxidation stains on your house and stuff like that. So, my point is, I see the things that got people up in arms. Did we not think that might happen, that people would take it that way? Is there a way to word it so that the intent is more clear? And I'm sure that's what you're gonna work on. So, and then I also wondered what happens from here, assuming you make these changes. Does it go back for another first reading, or is it called a second reading? And if it gets kicked back again, then what happens? So just kind of want to know where we go from here, and just say, again, I appreciate y'all trying to do something about this. And I'll keep my finger on the pulse as best I can.
Good try.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
George Page, 5 Forest Trail, Court 1.
Sir.
Just a little bit different angle. It doesn't seem like there was any communication between whoever wrote this and you guys, because it would have never come out this way. I agree with what my wife said. There was stuff in there that is not going to get past the majority of people on this island. And I don't understand why we're starting all over again now, it seems like, because we didn't even have a reading. So I'm assuming the next reading will be the first reading if there is a new law that's done. So how do you communicate among each other if you didn't even know what was in it until the day we get ready to have a reading, and you can't have a reading? It seems to me that's a pretty inefficient process. This is now starting all over again. It's been 6 months. All of y'all that I've spoken with have told me something's coming down the pipe. We're going to have something with teeth in it. We've got some international standards. I don't care about international standards. I want Isle of Palm standards. I'm not trying to force someone to give up their home. I'm just trying to get somebody to maintain their home. It's just to me, we're starting all over again. So here we are, 6 months from the first time we had a meeting, and we've got to have another reading. And this to me is a bit upsetting. On a different note, the intersection of Hartnett and 34th, you cannot see coming down Hartnett toward the marina. There is a huge water oak, and you have to get out in the lane before you can make a left turn. And on at least 4 occasions over the last year, I've had almost slam on brakes with kids, either on skateboard or bicycle, flying out without stopping. And you can't see until they're in the street. It's a big tree, and I don't know what the rules are, but I'm pretty certain it's on city property. It's not in somebody's yard. And I noticed it. I come down that road on purpose just so I can see how far do I have to actually pull out. And I pulled out the other day, and the car was 50 yards away. I mean, I couldn't see it. And so somebody needs to take a look at that intersection. There's a big oak. If you're coming down Hartnett, going high, low to high numbers, and you make a left turn, you cannot see left.
I know this one right in the middle of the road. Yeah.
It sticks right out in the corner.
There's a little island there
Mhm.
too.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Stan Harris. I live at 801 Ocean Boulevard. That's at the corner of 8th and Ocean. And as you know, there's public parking from 3rd Avenue to 9th Avenue. And I'd like to commend our police force this summer for the great job that they did in changing behavior on those streets, writing the tickets. You go down there now and everyone is parked in the parallel in the right direction of the flow of traffic. It's the safest way. It looks good as well, besides cars all over the place. So, my only comment there is just, I think we have to keep it up through the season. But it definitely has changed behavior for the locals that come over. My second point on parking is I support moving to 24/7 for those residential areas. And maybe eventually, since we give 5 or 6 times the parking allowed by the Beach Management Act, the residents that live on 3rd through 9th would also be included in residential parking sooner or later. But the main topic I wanted to talk about is whether we have a policy for securing the island during the storm. I was under the impression that we did. Matthew, my re-entry sticker was actually checked. There were roadblocks at both bridges. The last storms after that, I happened to be out of the country, didn't experience them. This past storm, we went away, but I have cameras for that whole corner, up and down, and it was like any other beach day. Even in the storm, with people getting in their rain gear and coming over the island and going. And I think if we don't have a policy, we're opening up the residents to some real risk. With a mandatory evacuation, we can argue about how soon it should be called. I think it was called way too early, but you never know. There were 2 days that were beautiful beach days. And I get the fact that in a storm, people are curious. They want to come over, they want to look at the angry sea, the surfers want to catch that wave. And the dog walkers still come to walk the dog, but we've already removed all the trash cans to prepare for the storm. So where are those plastic bags and dog poop going? They're left, because there's no way somebody's gonna take it back home. So I think a lot of things need to be thought through, and maybe we do have a policy, and I'm just ignorant. But if we decided that we're not going to shut the island down to outsiders, even though we're being asked to leave the island, we could at least have checkpoints at the 2 bridges, ask people what their business is during the mandatory evacuation, and direct them if they're just going to go see the beach, they want to surf, direct them to the city parking lot, with their car, keep them away from the residents' homes that are vulnerable. So I hope you will take that under consideration, and we come up with a policy. Thank you. Thanks.
Eddie Shepherd, number 20th Avenue, 420th Avenue. First thing is, the last time I was at this meeting, my wife brought up the crosswalk at 20th. Haven't seen any action on that, hadn't had any feedback on it, so I'd be curious as to know where that stands. The other issue is nighttime golf carts. Are they allowed, or is there, what is the policy or rules concerning golf carts being used at night? And thirdly, in reference to the aquarium, this may be out of my league here, but those of us who were in the military, there's something we were mandatorily to do. If you're gonna smoke, then you're gonna field strip your cigarette. What does that mean? That means when you finish it, you get the tobacco out and you put it in your pocket. And you take it to wherever it goes, you don't throw it down on the ground. So those are the 3 things. I just want to thank the 2 chiefs for the work they've done here. Particularly, this one's been here for a long time. So if I could get a little feedback on the crosswalk and see if we can get the nighttime golf carts squared away.
And actually, I brought that up, that's why it's on the agenda for here today, is to address some of those areas.
Well, it doesn't say 20th Avenue.
Up to that area, well.
The issue is
Yes.
that it narrows down to 2 lanes.
Correct.
And the one closest to the church, for the reasons unclear to me, it seems like everybody that comes out of that turn has this,
Right.
this issue. They want to just floor it for some reason.
Mhm.
Maybe it's I don't know, want to be in the Indianapolis 500 or something. so.
Right.
And the nighttime golf carts.
Correct. And as for nighttime golf carts, the only thing golf carts are allowed to drive at night are LSV vehicles. So they have to allow LSVs. Actually, if you see a golf cart that has a license plate on the back that says LV on it,
Mm-hmm.
they're legal by state law. All other golf carts are not.
Are they legal do they have to stay on the streets, or can they be on the sidewalks?
The
The-
LSVs, they're
Yes.
street legal golf carts.
But my question is, can
No
they,
carts on the sidewalks, right?
Yeah.
so are they required to stay in the road, or can they be off to the, like, the 20th over thing there, where they go down the path there rather than on the street?
One of the things that we're working on, it depends on what side of the street you're on. Are you like on the side of the Harris Teeter side? Yeah.
That's where I am, but the
Yes.
golf cart crosses from my side to the other side and takes that cart pathway.
And that's
to
on, and that's on their agenda as well, is to discuss
Okay.
that as well. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else?
I have no hearing aids in, so I don't sound right to myself.
Oh, you're fine, you sound good.
Really spooky. How should a responsible citizen conduct themselves in regard to
Name, address, we know who
Oh,
you
Yes,
are.
yes, right.
Bill Campbell, number 34 on 42nd. Good morning. How should oh God, I can't take it. How should a concerned citizen respond to a circumstance like this? I'm on the corner of my property, cutting the grass, and I see a golf cart come up right to the corner of Wildwood and 42nd. And I see two girls in it. They're obviously not of age. So I walked up to them and I said, "Are you aware that you're supposed to be 16 and have a driver's license?" And they said, "Well, I'm just driving my girlfriend around the corner." I said, "Well, be that as it may, you're supposed to be 16 and have a driver's license." So they did that, went home, and then I'm still cutting the lawn. And now the father comes racing down, and I think, maybe he's gonna say, it takes a village, it's good, we've got people concerned. Whoa, did he rip into me? Mind your own business, was the response, one of those. And I just smiled and cut the lawn. I mean, what is a concerned, responsible citizen supposed to do?